Like, who else is going to say, okay, I'm just going to drive 8 hours to go be on a podcast? Actually, the person at the border said, wait, you're going all the way to Long Island for a podcast? Are you sure you're not going to pick up anything and bring it back?
Hey, make sure you check us out at the realestateandchillpodcast.com. Buy your real estate merch now. Real estate merch with swag. A brand for hustlers only. Let's go! Welcome back to the newest episode of the Real Estate and Chill Podcast. I am your host, Associate Real Estate Broker Kevin Iglesias. If this is your first time with us, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and share this episode. As always, it's $1 million episode. We got the man himself, ranked number 13 in Niagara Falls. It's an 8-hour drive, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh, so many potholes that you had to dodge. We got the man himself, Andrew Perry, in the building. Let's go!
Can I do it too?
Let's go.
Oh! My God. Holy smokes. What energy, bro. I appreciate that.
Man.
You got some...
It's all right. It's a party.
I love
Don't even worry about it. We're honored
That's
for
amazing.
you to be here, man. An 8-hour drive. That's
Thanks,
amazing. We were talking about this off camera. When people see your vision,
Yeah.
it makes you feel good, right? Because they see the bigger picture. And they get it. You get it, right?
Yes.
That's why you drove here and you're on a platform. So,
Well, you know what? You said something interesting off camera too. You said, typically we're going to be talking about this, so I don't want to, step on your toes. But when you're starting out and you're saying yes to everything. Where what I believe is, when you get to that level where you start buying back your time, where like who else is going to say, okay, I'm just going to drive 8 hours to go be on a podcast? Actually, the person at the border said, wait, you're going all the way to Long Island for a podcast? Are you sure you're not going to pick up anything and bring it back? I was like, you know what? You sound like my wife. Why are you driving me nuts? But it's, when you're buying back your time to do something like network, meet good people, it's certainly well worth those potholes.
So we're honored to have you here, man. Please give the audience a quick, brief introduction of who you are. All your accolades as well, too.
Yeah, so basically, I run a team called the Fine Estate Team in Niagara. I also run an office for Revel Realty in Niagara-on-the-Lake and Muskoka. And, we've been ranked number 13, as you said. With our combined sales volume, we would technically be in the top 10, which is great. We have a team of about 5 full-time agents, 3 admins, and then 2 satellite offices in random markets.
That's awesome. So I'm going to hit you with a heavy question right off the bat.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Do Canadians hate Americans?
This is where we're going to start right now.
Right off the bat.
So when I was a kid, I do like this question because when I was a kid, we always just thought that Americans were almost cocky, right? Like too cocky. But hell, Canadians are too. Let's be honest. Our cultures are very similar. But as I grew up, and it was even more apparent during COVID, that what we perceived cockiness was actually patriotism. So I don't believe that Canadians hate Americans at all. I think the ones that feel, the same wedge you guys went through during COVID, we went through that too, where people on the conservative side, what we call, what do you get, Republicans? So we call that conservatives. The people who were so far believing in our rights, they were kind of just as divisive against the government as you guys went through.
So short answer, no.
No. A lot of us even. So it's funny, if you know Eric from Broke Agent and Dan O'Neill, I went to the Tom Ferry conference in Dallas. And this was, COVID was just kind of fizzling out. And, I had one too many Manhattans, one of my favorite drinks. And I did like this whole patriotic speech on camera. And it's like I could just imagine the American flag blowing behind me, and I'm just like giving this speech. Thank you, Broke Agent Eric, for not posting that on your blog. That was great.
So you touched on something. How long have you been in the business?
Well, this is my 6th year.
6 years.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, ranked number 13 out of
Just under 1,600, so 1,555. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an impressive.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Your first years in the business, did you have to say yes to everything? Because, a lot of agents when they're starting off, you just want to work, right? You just want to gain the experience, you want to gain the knowledge, and most importantly, you want to get paid.
Man, yeah.
How was your first few years in the business?
So my first few years, and I think my first year I did about $117,000. And I just moved here to Niagara from Barrie, which was, 2.5 hours. Let's just say that, right? So I didn't have a sphere, I didn't have a network. I sat every open house Saturday and Sunday. I picked up the phone. I used to work for a company called LA Fitness. You guys have
Yeah, we have LA Fitness,
like 1,000 of them here, right? So when
Pretty
they first came
expensive
to
on the membership.
when they first came to Canada, we were trained, highly trained. Like this company runs like a well-oiled machine. It's amazing. So that gave me the sales structure. So I had to make 60 to 100 calls a day. I was making 120 calls a day. So I took that attitude and grit and put it into my sales business with real estate. And that's how I kind of got there. I said yes to absolutely everything. Now, what I try to tell my people is that at its basic foundation, how do you grow your business? How do you get those agent-to-agent referrals? It's all foundationally from being accessible. Realtors, they could honestly care less, and maybe this is a bad thing, but they could honestly care less maybe who that referral goes to, but how fast they can get that off their plate, how fast they can get that client into a new home so they could get paid. So I was saying yes to absolutely everything. Even if I still have my son, who was probably about 2 or 3 when I got into real estate. And even though if I wanted to spend all that time with him, I had to say yes. And I had to make those sacrifices. So I'd be before my open houses, I was doing home inspections, I was doing tours, I was doing everything. And I was meeting clients that maybe weren't the most qualified. So I had to say yes to absolutely everything. And I think if anybody's watching this and you're just starting out, it's one of those opportunities that you have to make those types of sacrifices for.
Good question. I mean, good thing that you brought up. Saying yes to everything, right?
Yeah.
There's usually a couple of stories that stick out in your mind, like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Anything that you can think of the top of your head that you were like, I can't believe I said yes to that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've
maybe a couple of stories.
Okay, yeah, I've got a couple. That's why I'm laughing, because I was coming in with one. So, okay, let's do this. This one is after 5 years of showing these clients.
5 years.
Like after what person in the right mind would show somebody houses for 5 years without writing an offer, without getting paid, without a little bit more of commitment? Like we didn't have a buyer representation agreement signed. I don't know if you guys have that here.
Yeah, buyer agency.
Yeah. So I stuck with it. I don't know why. Maybe I was crazy, but I stuck with it. Finally got him into a place for $3 million this year. Wow. And I tell that story to my team, and it's just like, you don't give up on those leads, Now, the other one. So Niagara Falls in Canada, right? We have a location, Lundy's Lane, Clifton Hill. The hotels on some of that strips is, they're like month to month, if you know what I'm saying, right? So people live there, subsidized. And I get a call from our office phone to go and pick up this lady who wants to go see houses. I knew something was off, but I decided to go and do it anyways. So I pull my car in, go to the back. I drive a Mercedes, so I'm going in. I'm pulling around the back of the hotel, and there's like 10 people just dancing with their shirts off, missing teeth. It's like this crazy, like,
is it a crack party?
Basically, yeah, it's a crack party. I was like, "Where's my invite?" But anyways, so I get there. I'm like knocking on the door. Girl meets me outside and take her into my car. And poor woman, but she stunk. Like it was bad. So I go to show her this house, and we're walking around. And next thing you know, I typically like knock and say hello, yeah, hello. I didn't in this instance, and by the time we get to the upstairs, there's this guy there, and he's like completely strung out. And apparently this was her ex-husband, and she was trying to get back into the house. So when you're young and hungry, try to say yes to everything, but maybe do yourself a favor and pre-qualify a little bit better than I did.
That's insane. So, that just goes to show that you're really resilient, right? You're persistent, and you have to be consistent in the real estate industry. Because, to show somebody houses for 5 years, how many houses did you show them, you would say, every year?
You know what? So it wasn't like as intense. Like you gotta understand, these particular clients were pretty big players. Okay. They owned an accounting firm globally, and that $3 million was only a drop in the bucket to them. So I felt like I needed to keep it going, but we really only saw maybe 5 houses a year. I mean, the most I did was with one client, we would see 10 to 15 a weekend. And I was like, by the time that I was just ready to let them go, I was already so committed and invested that I just said, let's do this. And that took a year. So I got multiple stories, but yeah.
All right, so that's interesting, right? Because when do you say as an agent, am I just wasting my time? Is this going to lead to anything?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you separate yourself? Or
Well,
how do you,
that's the thing,
that?
you don't know. And obviously through the qualification process, you can pretty much get a good idea. I knew I was going to sell them. It was just a matter of when. And, eventually you now as an agent whose time is so valuable, I have to say, look, are we doing this or not? Well, yeah, but the door handles, this, that. You can't pick apart every little piece of the house. People do, like, the ceiling fan. I'm like, I'll take the fucking ceiling fan down. What do you want? So now I'm getting much, much better about it, but I sold all 3 of those. So I tell my team, I say, look, you have to ask yourself, is this actually going to happen? Ask these few qualifying questions and just be straight up. That's it.
How was the market over there during COVID? When you got, because so just here we were shut down. We couldn't do anything for a couple of months. We could only show virtually. Yeah. Like how are you guys still able to sell during COVID?
So we were what was called, what did they call it again? It was essential service. We were technically an essential service.
You guys are essential in Canada?
Yes.
That's insane.
Well, because a lot of people had deals processing during that whole time, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Leave an old lady out on the street and not close the house, right?
See, the U.S. is just savages. They're like, the only essential workers are like nurses, doctors, et cetera, et cetera. We couldn't do anything. Like if we were caught showing a house, it was a big hefty fine.
Yeah. So what we would do, and I did this a lot, was I would sell over FaceTime, just like Ryan Serhan. He's had a couple of those Instagram videos out, where we were still allowed to do showings. Lawyers required all lockboxes to be kept. There's a few different processes in the systems that were changed that we actually maintained until now. But no, we were still allowed to show. But at the beginning, everybody was really nervous. We didn't know what to do. I thought like this was it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest into myself huge. I'm going to double up on my lead generation. And I'm like, everybody's at home, everybody's looking at houses, watching Netflix, and I want to get in front of them. So I did. And then within a few weeks, I was so friggin' busy that I had to start adding more and more team members. So COVID for us was just a skyrocket right from the beginning. The first 2 weeks was a little worrisome, but after that, it was nonstop.
That's what, separates real estate professionals who get it. Who just, when your back's against the wall, you have to survive, right?
Right.
You have to make it. And during COVID, it was one of my best years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show you that you're resilient, you're persistent, and you just keep going no matter what's handed to you, right?
100%.
I always like to say I turn obstacles into possibles, right? I always find a solution to every problem. Because in this industry, if we're not solving a problem, there's a problem, right? There's so many problems that come our way that people don't see. It's not televised as often, but we find solutions.
Well, the thing is like, realistically, what the hell are you going to do? Honestly, what are you going to do? Are you going to back out and then go work at Tim Hortons, which is a Canadian thing? I hear you guys got it now. Or go and work at McDonald's? Like, what are you going to do? This is your business. Nobody's here to save you. You have to do whatever it takes. And are you okay with not getting paid 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Because what you decide to do right now is going to affect you. Real estate closings, that's how it works. You either close a property in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. And then even still, getting paid is all dependent on the lawyers. So can you afford to not go without a paycheck in that amount of time? And I always think about that. So that's why I'm always trying to be as consistent as possible. So just because you got a good deal, close, maybe you did 2 deals, but you never take your foot off the gas, right? And it's the same thing with COVID. Had we have just taken our foot off the gas, we would have never been to where we were. We would have had to climb out of that hole sometime.
That's a really good point. I mean, look, closings happen every day, regardless of what the rates are, regardless of what the market is doing. There's so many agents that are complaining, oh, the rates are too high, the rates are high.
Yep.
Get to work. Doesn't matter. You can't change things in this business, right? And so there's no point of dwelling on it. Just hustle. That's all you can really do. One thing that you brought up, how because everybody wants to know, right? Every guest that we have on, you have on because they're super successful at what they do, right? You've had a lot of success on social media. How has that helped your business as far as getting leads and as far as getting exposure? Because you've been a keynote speaker, you've been a panelist on many panels. So how has that helped you as far as your brand?
Massively, because and I love how you ended it with brand. Because within companies, especially this day and age, in order to succeed, you need your company brand and you need a personal brand. If you don't have the personal brand, it's really difficult for that company brand to get off the ground, right? So I knew that from a very young starting point in our career. So social media has absolutely helped me crush agent referrals, lead gen. So you can't necessarily look at Instagram and Facebook as a lead gen necessarily, but more of something that's more foundational that helps almost pre-qualify. So by the time somebody gets in front of you, they look at you, they feel like they know you, and you don't need to win them over. You already did.
Right.
I always ask this question: what was the most, celebrity death that affected you? Do you know?
I would say Michael Jackson. I was a huge Michael Jackson
Right.
fan.
So for me, it's Robin Williams, because Robin Williams, Michael Jackson, you grew up with them. I never met Robin Williams either, but on with Instagram, and that's why Instagram is pushing more videos. Social media personal brands use relationships that are high quality leads. But so we actually got a dollar hotel buyer, which led me to a hotel buyer. So people, you got commercials because our clientele. So they do partnerships, and especially millionaires are getting younger and younger and younger. Like how much on social media. So for people to say, okay, my clientele isn't on social media, that's bullshit. They are. You just got to put in better work.
So have you ever... Hey, make sure you check us out at the realestateandchillpodcast.com. Buy your real estate merch now. Real estate merch with swag. A brand for hustlers only. Let's go! So have you ever thought about working in the U.S., like working in the States?
I love that. Yeah, 100%. I mean, somebody literally approached me last week about starting a Find Estates team in Florida. So we have a few brokerages from Ontario, Canada, that have actually started operating in Florida. I don't know if Florida is the next step, but certainly, I mean, as I travel and meet more and more people, I'm working on a book, I'm working on a show. The market in the States is really what's going to help us catapult to a higher level. So absolutely.
Do you mainly focus on luxury? Like, what market are you in Niagara Falls? Like, what's the average sale price for you?
Right. So technically, we're in Niagara on the Lake.
Okay.
Which is kind of like, if you think of New York and Hamptons, it's kind of like that. Where Niagara Falls is kind of like New York. The Hamptons is kind of like Niagara on the Lake. So it's these older homes, lakefront properties, something like that. Nowhere near close to the values of New York City in the Hamptons, by the way. But so me as the team leader, I'll basically only do homes over 1.5. Everything else gets passed off to my team. But no, we focus on everything. Find Estates team basically puts the same amount of care, whether it's a $10 million property or it's a $500,000 property. So we do it all. We do commercial, industrial, we do it all.
It's all about service.
Absolutely.
How do you go about finding, because I feel like everybody wants to be in luxury, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody can do luxury.
Right.
So how do you find those luxury clients? Like, how is it connections? Is it network, is it people that you meet at bars or certain places,
Yeah.
country clubs, et cetera, et cetera? How do you find
Yeah.
those clients?
So that's a really good question. And it all stems to our value proposition. But mainly through our branding and network on social media, we get a lot of referrals. Like we did 51 referrals, agent-to-agent referrals last year. But it has everything to do with what we actually offer. So we advertise in 50,000 magazines a month. We're on the New York Times. We're in the Globe and Mail. We're in Mansions Global. We're in 100 plus countries all over the world. And basically, we have amazing connections with the media as well. So we can create articles, all that good stuff. And then from there, because just think how many people are going into a listing presentation and say, oh, we do 4K video, HDR, and then we post on Facebook and social media. That's not even part of my presentation anymore. If you're like, where's the value of somebody posting it on Facebook and Instagram? A seller's like, I have Facebook and Instagram. I'll just post it there. So that's not a value add anymore. Where it is utilized is understanding and guaranteeing. So we can guarantee 25 to 50,000 views in your first 24 to 48 hours. So where we get our luxury clients is based on the fact that a lot of them are seeing our stuff and they're constantly seeing it. So it's not enough to just post it on social media. It's having the what's the word, the know-how of how to actually run those types of campaigns and put it in the right target market, I guess you could say.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say you were leaving from Niagara, right?
Yeah.
And you were coming here to New York to start fresh.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do to be a successful agent
Mm-hmm.
and to get in that top 10 ranked in New York?
Mm-hmm.
What would you be your steps?
That's a great question, and this is what I always tell my team too. It's like if you're looking to get started, try to pick something that you're passionate about, so it's much more likely that you're going to follow through with it, and be consistent with it. Get out there every single day. So let's give you an example. Now you see Ryan Serhant doing it. He never did this at the. Have you ever seen him what he's doing now? Where it's he's like showcasing businesses.
Yeah.
Right.
So, business startups, right? I see it a lot now.
Exactly. So when I first started, I went through. There's a little historic old town where I live, and all these stores. So I would just go to store to store to store, interview the owners, buy something, review one of their products, and I would showcase them. And if you do that consistently, people are like, well, they're not looking at your account for you because you're a realtor. They're looking at your account because, oh, I've been there. Oh, I've always wanted to go there. Oh, what happens there? Oh, you know what? I wanted Rocky Mountain chocolate. Here's a good example. I wanted to know what their chocolate apples tasted like. So I bought one, ate it, review. And then they know, like, and trust you to be like, oh, that's Andrew. He's a realtor. If he's doing this to support the community, I wonder how much invested he could be in teaching me the market. Because where I'm from, a lot of people are moving into our market. So a lot of my clients, when I first started out, were people who didn't even live there. So there's my point number 2 is if you're just getting started, try not to target the locals. Target people who are moving into the city. Target other realtors who don't live there. Because that's how I got it. It's a funny story. It's kind of like a fake it till you make it. But all the referrals that I got were from people who thought I was Mr. Niagara on the Lake. But locally, people are like, well, this guy's brand new. He just started. He's only done like one deal here. Perception outside, it's visibility over ability. I learned that from my friend Tom Story. And it's that perception was built up so strong and so consistently that anytime you think Niagara, they thought Andrew Perry.
It's amazing. I mean, that is advice that anybody can run with, right? Whether you're a new agent, you're a seasoned agent, or you're an agent looking to do more business and get more referrals. Now, those 51 referrals that came from agent to agent, I'm assuming, was that like social media? Was that like just agents in your market? Was like out-of-state agents as far as like looking for somebody to service their client? So
it was all out-of-town agents. So anybody, I've had referrals as far as Australia, Florida. It's all based on. I also help run a group called Real Estate Hacks, 30,000 realtors.
Wow.
I got into that role because the owner, Jill, was noticing that I was posting a lot in the group, noticed that I was, providing a lot of value. So I got promoted, from just a member to one of the admins. So that obviously helped boost that referral network for sure. But to answer your question directly, yeah, like I said, it's all just people who've been watching me and know that's the thing, man. It's like promoting mortgage rates, first time home buyer stuff. Did you know that it's free to hire a buyer agent? Like, I'm not putting anybody down who does that type of promotions, but at the end of the day, people don't care about that. They want to learn about the town that they might be moving to. So that's where I suggest people start, and that's how I got the referrals.
Is it really free though? We were talking about this off camera. Is anything free really free? One thing that you guys have over there that we don't have here is free healthcare. Perfect segue to talk about
that.
This
Is a good segue. So, yeah, like you said, just because it's free doesn't make it good. So in Canada, we have free healthcare. I'll be honest, for those emergencies, you still have to pay for ambulance, I think. Anyway, but like for those emergencies and like births, like we don't have to pay, and it's great. Like a friend of mine who lives in Pennsylvania, they had a baby and it cost them $27,000. I was like, holy smokes!
So babies are free in Canada.
Yeah, babies are free. So that's we're knocking them out, man. That's why I've got 3. If I had 3 kids in the States, I'd be broke. But for the more serious things, like for cancer, for serious surgeries, like there's a backup of like 4, 5, 6 months, years. Really? That's why you'll see a lot of us come to the States for quick service and expert knowledge, because what we're seeing is like if you have to wait that long, how much worse can that condition get? Yeah. So like I heard a story of a good friend of mine. She had cancer. She went to oh my gosh, where did she go? It was either New York or California. I apologize, I'm messing the story up, but regardless, she went in there. She's like, okay, I need to get a CAT scan. I need this. I need that. And she's like, okay, will you just email it or mail it to me? Like, she's like, what do you mean? She's like, go to the front desk. Here, it's printed off for you to take home. What? In Canada, it takes you months to get. She just walked off the street, went into this doctor's office. In Canada, you have to book that appointment. Could be weeks, could be months away. And then in order to get those results, could be weeks, could be months.
That's insane. So what were the hospitals like during COVID then?
They basically they canceled all surgery, not all surgeries, but even some major surgeries. So kids that were extremely sick, and some what they would call basically like non-emergency surgeries, they were canceled, and so many people were hurt or even died because they weren't looked at in an efficient time frame, because they're only concerned about COVID patients.
Wow, that's insane.
Man, we couldn't even. I had so many friends and family that had friends and family die, and you couldn't even go see them before they were dying. You couldn't even go to their funeral. It was wild.
How has accountability taken part in your team growth? Mm-hmm. Right, because you built a successful team. You're a very successful guy. How has accountability helped you? Build a team.
Mm-hmm. So step number 1, I had to take accountability myself and understand that where my vision was, where I was going as the CEO of the team, it was not best served as my team's accountability partner. So I had to hire a VP of sales, Crystal Simons, who's been on my team now for this is her 3rd year. So now she holds the team accountable based on their goals and based on what we set out from the beginning. So their personal goals and their professional goals. So every Tuesday, we have our first team meeting. Basically, we set your goals and daily actions based on your goals that we've set out. And then on Fridays, we have the second accountability session where we follow up and say, okay, how far are you to, achieving these goals that you've set out? And we need to readjust to make sure that you're hitting your goals by the next Tuesday. So we have 2 accountability sessions, and then we have a group chat that we're constantly in each other's faces. Like, how's it going? How's that listing going? How's that showing going? How's that home inspection going? So it's a consistent accountability session with our teams.
That's amazing. Accountability is key.
Right? Absolutely.
And in this business, you have to be very self-motivated, right? You can have the best coach, the best leader in the world, but if you're not taking part and putting in the work, it's pretty much going nowhere.
Absolutely.
So I have my own team here as well, and I always ask people because I always say that I'm a student of the game, right? I don't ever think that I know everything. I like to learn, right? Because the more you learn, the more you earn. What would you say is one of the key things that has helped you build a team? Besides accountability, like what is something that you would say to another team leader that, hey, look, this works for me. Most likely, it could work for you.
I think the biggest thing is ego. Checking your ego at the door. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many team leaders, that can't let go of certain tasks and aren't willing to hire anybody. And, that was my biggest hang up is that I always thought that, okay, my clients don't want to hear from anybody else on my team. They want to hear from me, which isn't true. I hate to say this, guys, but at the end of the day, your clients don't necessarily care about you as much as you think they do, right? So, setting in those systems is super, super crucial. It's not how can I achieve my 12-month goals? It's who can help me achieve those 12-month goals. So looking for somebody like a director of ops, looking for a VP of sales, because at the end of the day, your job is to grow the team and not necessarily be running the day-to-day. So that's the biggest thing that you got to look at as a team leader is where are you spending too much of your time, and break it down as basically a per dollar amount per hour. And just think about it and be like, okay, is my time spending, best spent posting social media, creating property descriptions, reaching out to my clients and confirming appointments? Or is my time best spent, meeting new people, creating better relationships, doing podcasts, and really getting the brand name out there? So that's where you got to start.
That's key. Have you been using what everybody else has been using out there? The chat, what is it?
GPT. I have not used it in our business yet, but I've played around with the property description and just say, hey, write out, and it turned out pretty good. But no, ever since it got so popularized, you can't even log in because so many people are using it. So
that's insane. AI is going to take over, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I agree too. It's just one of the graphic design aspects. It's like, those poor graphic designers, they're going to be out of a job.
So good thing you brought that up. Do you ever think that AI would take our jobs?
I don't think so. I think the same thing like Zillow. It's not very popular in Canada yet. The buy. Yeah, that didn't work, right? Yeah. So I think those things are really good indications that, something like a house, something like finances, something like, lawyers, I could see could definitely go.
Sorry, attorneys.
Yeah, well, I do because just for those quick things, those quick closings, right?
It's not as personable as what we do.
That's right. Do I think lawyers would be out of business for good? No, 100% not. But from a real estate transaction standpoint, maybe. But these things, anything that has to do with your personal finances, I just feel like you need somebody, another human being, to provide their experience and give you the best advice. You need to lean on somebody for that. I don't think leaning on a computer system would be able to give you that type of confidence in order to buy something that's, your life's investment.
I completely agree with you.
Maybe one day.
Maybe, you never know. Do you see a lot of Americans moving into your community, like where you are?
Yeah, Niagara on the Lake and in Niagara Peninsula as a whole is tons of Americans.
A lot of New Yorkers, or?
They're from all over. All over. Yes, a lot of people from Buffalo, and they just come over for Crystal Beach, Fort Erie, where they get cottages, right? However, do you know about this? Is this another segue? No. So Canada has banned Americans from buying in properties.
We did an episode on this.
You did?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's titled "Banned from Canada." Look it up.
Yeah.
It's on our channel.
Yeah. Actually, now that you say that, I think I remember. So yeah, I mean, basically, the foreign buyers made up a total of maybe, and this is 2 years ago, 3% or less, and I think it's even less as of last year. So, and there's still ways around it, buying it as a vacation home, buying it as a commercial, or buying it in a business name.
Yeah, like an corporation.
Yeah.
And I was reading that if you have a spouse that's Canadian, that you're also able to buy.
Absolutely.
So there's a couple of loopholes, but it was very interesting. But I mean,
it's just at the end of the day, it's all just liberal speak to try to buy more votes, because the average person who's not dealing in the market They're like, oh, those foreigners coming in buying all. I'm like, okay, for number one, those foreigners are coming in to buy something that they're investing in. They still pay taxes on it. Like, so what's the problem here? Oh, well, they've made it unaffordable. They're making up less than 2% of the total market. You're making it unaffordable, not them. So it's a very interesting concept.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you here. So many gems. I want to hit you with some hot topics. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Being from Canada, is Drake your favorite artist?
No.
Oh, no. Who's your favorite artist?
Tragically Hip.
Who?
Yeah, there you go. Tragically Hip is a Canadian band.
Oh, Canadian band. What about like globally? Somebody that people would know globally. Maybe Canadians would know.
Yeah.
But like rap artist is somebody that you would say.
Oh, rap. Oh man, like I know it's gonna sound so.
So tell me a little pump, please.
No, I don't even know any of those guys. No, anything like after Eminem, I don't know. So Eminem's probably Eminem, Tupac, Biggie. Those are my top three.
Safe bet.
Yeah.
New York pizza. Is it the best pizza you've ever had?
Well, yeah, 100%. Because in Canada, like I told you a story off camera, I tried to find the closest thing to a New York slice, and you can't. Like I tell people, like I just want a slice of cheese pizza. Wait, what do you mean? What else do you want on it? Nothing. I just want the cheese pizza. So
how horrible is pizza in Canada?
It's I got to shout out Sandtrap Pub and Grill in my hometown. They're great.
They're great.
They're as close because everybody in Canada is like the dough is so thick.
Yeah. And
you got to put everything on it. It's like, come on, guys.
Hockey fan?
Yes.
Favorite team?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Basketball?
Yes.
Toronto Raptors?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but my childhood team was Detroit Red Wings.
All right. Canada. Last one.
But you got to respect the kid for sure.
Who's your
Good question. I love Max Sunday, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Ryan's over
Yeah.
Anything else that we should look out for, and where can people follow you?
Yeah, just where I lead everybody to, what you can expect. More international, more relationships being built internationally. Maybe a couple of courses. Who knows?
Do you think that poutine should be Americanized? Is it that good?
What would you do with it, though?
I don't know. I don't know if people know what poutine is.
Poutine, that's the thing, man. It's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be chicken gravy, not beef. Check.
Would you ever move to the States?
100%. It's decent. It's just the people there are great. It's just it's going like so far left. It's wild. Man.
I'm not saying Canada's terrible, by the way. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you said yes that quickly, New York might be better.
You know what? I drove. What do you call it? New Jersey Turnpike?
Yeah.
Right? And I actually got to see the Empire State Building. It's the first time I've ever seen it. It's beautiful. Man.
Really?
It's motivational.
It is.
Yeah.
City that never sleeps.
That's right.
So where can people reach out to you again?
At the Andrew Perry on Instagram.
Hopefully we can make something happen as far as you coming down and possibly being a panelist on one of our...
yeah, let's do it, man. That'd be great.
All right. Well, that was the latest episode of the Real Estate and Chill podcast. We had the man himself, Andrew Perry, in the building. We got to set it off with this.
Oh, my God.
Make sure you guys subscribe. Hit the like button, the notification bell. Let's go!
Oh, man.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Estate and Chill podcast with James Chaudhry and Kevin Iglesias. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, share this with your friends, your enemies, your mother-in-law. No, seriously, this podcast is so fucking good, you might want to tell your ex. See you next time.